SmartB Sports Update Podcast is brought to you by Optimum CBD. For all your rest and recovery needs, CBD products are your best bet. Go to optimumcbd.store to order now. Free delivery on all orders over $99. You must be over 18 to order. I use Optimum CBD products personally for my rest and recovery. I train 6 days a week in Jiu-Jitsu, as you've probably heard on the SmartB Sports Update Podcast. I teach, I train, I compete. And without Optimum CBD products, I wouldn't be able to do it. Optimum CBD for all your rest and recovery needs.
Good afternoon, Dan, and how are you this week now that your team has achieved the ability to win the premiership by meeting the premiership formula?
By signing Lachlan Galvin.
Yeah. The headphones fell off, don't worry. I read an article about like the perfect formula for winning a premiership, and it has like you have to have this many players under this age and this many players under this of this value and this many marquee players and so on and so forth. And the Bulldogs didn't have enough $1 million players, and by signing Lachlan Galvin they've got the equivalent of $1 million player, so therefore they've now achieved the requirements that to meet.
There you go. They now meet the criteria.
Yeah, but he's not $1 million player.
No, but he is a $750,000 a year player, and that's the value of the contract he signed until the end of 2028. So it's a 3.5-year deal. It was finally confirmed on Friday afternoon. The Tigers put out a statement saying that they were releasing him, and then only a matter of hours afterwards, the Bulldogs, surprise, surprise, put out a statement saying that he'd signed with the club.
Apparently he was, according to actually on social media, there was photos of him at Bulldogs training in a Bulldog shirt
before he'd been
Tigers,
released. Yeah, and that was an issue because for insurance reasons. He hadn't been released by his previous employer. He hadn't been employed by his new employer yet, and so there were insurance issues. If he had got injured at training, it would have caused all sorts of problems. So that could have been a real issue, but obviously the NRL won't take any action against Phil Gould, the general manager, because the NRL are just completely scared of him and they won't touch him. He's a protected species at the NRL.
He's allowed to do whatever he wants, including court people publicly before the whatever the hell they call it, deadlines.
Yeah, so we'll get to him in a second. That spat he had with Michael Chammas on TV, which we just missed it last week. We recorded on Monday morning, and that show was on Monday night, so we just missed it. So we're just catching up to that today.
But Tuesday, there was the teams were named.
Yes.
Toby Sexton retained his halfback spot.
Yes.
And Lachlan Galvin comes in at number 23, which will be cold tomorrow, right?
I think the cull happens. I'm pretty sure the cull happens 24 hours before kickoff. So they cull it back to 24 hours before kickoff.
Oh, they're playing Monday, not tomorrow.
Yeah, they're playing Monday. Yeah, so they'll cull it. So it's Monday 4 p.m. game. They'll cull the squad Sunday 4 p.m. And then obviously they'll cull it again an hour before kickoff when the final teams are listed. I'm of the belief that he will play in this game, even though he's been listed in jumper number 23, Galvin. I think he will play because why else would they have listed him in jersey 23? If he wasn't going to play, they just wouldn't have listed him in the squad. So I believe that he will play on Monday. That's
he's got to play because then he can get picked for Origin. Because aren't the teams named on Monday as well? So he's got to get one more game. Because that's how good he is.
Yeah, well... exactly right, yeah. But good to see some level of sanity prevailed and Toby Sexton kept his halfback spot. I was a little bit bemused by Cameron Ciraldo's press conference yesterday when he was asked about Toby Sexton. He says, and these are his quotes, I quote, he says, "Toby knows he's the master of his own destiny," he said.
Oh, is he?
He said, "If he's playing his best footy and he's the best option for us to win games, then he'll be in that number 7 jersey. And that's the same for anyone else in our squad. If you want to play first grade, then be the best player in your position. Do your job, and there's a spot for you. Does he not realise that his team are on top of the ladder and that Toby Sexton at halfback has guided the Bulldogs to being on top of the ladder? Why is Cameron Ciraldo all of a sudden talking about Toby Sexton like he's some alien from outer space or something? He's the halfback in the team that's on top of the ladder. Well, why is he talking about him like he's some fringe first grader or something and he's lucky to keep his spot?
Like he knows what to do to keep his spot and his place in the team. So that kind of reads definitely to me that they are going to put Galvin in at halfback.
Yeah, I think they will. I think it's only a matter of time. I think Toby Sexton's on borrowed time. We've got to remember that Toby Sexton is off contract at the end of this year, and surprisingly, he's not attracting much interest from other clubs. I think the problem with this Dylan Brown scenario, with Dylan Brown getting $1.3 million a year for the next 10 years at Newcastle, the Powerball lotto-winning deal that Dylan Brown's getting at Newcastle, it's just thrown the market right out of whack. And now, because Dylan Brown's getting that money, well, Toby Sexton wants $1 million a year now. And you can't begrudge him of that because he actually has claimed to earn $1 million a year if Dylan Brown can be getting $1.3 million a year. But this is the issue. Clubs are not touching him at that price tag. He's not attracting much interest. So we've got to remember Toby Sexton's off contract this year. He's unwanted by the Bulldogs. Lachlan Galvin's just been signed on a 3.5-year deal until the end of 2028. I really think, unfortunately, and it's really harsh, I think Toby Sexton's on borrowed time. And I agree. I think in 2 or 3 weeks' time, Lachlan Galvin will be the starting halfback.
He should seek an immediate release. I think they're not allowed to now. I think the end of this.
Well, they're going to do it before June 30.
Oh, is it 30? Okay,
June 30 is the trade deadline for this year.
He should seek an immediate release because the writing's on the wall, and there's a bunch of clubs that are taking him right now.
Yeah,
even on like really cheap.
I think he might have to just, if he's not being touched by clubs, he's going to have to just bring his asking price down. Yeah. That's what he's going to be forced into doing. Otherwise he's not going to have a club next year, and he's too good a player not to have a club. If Dylan Brown can be getting $1.3 million a year, then there's no way that Toby Sexton should be snubbed by all these clubs. He's in the team that's on top of the ladder and he's the halfback.
I think it just comes down to everyone knows the Knights deal was not a good deal. The Knights Dylan Brown deal was not a good deal. So now all the players are going around and asking for, $1 million, and all of the clubs are like, I'm not going to give you $1 million.
So it's a double-edged sword, the Dylan Brown deal, isn't it, for other players? On one hand, they feel like they can command more money, but on the other hand, clubs are going to be reluctant to give it to them. I feel
like it's when, to use an analogy, like, people who aren't experienced at selling things on eBay and Gumtree, they just go and look at the highest priced item of what they're trying to sell, and then they sell it for like $5 under. They don't look at the average price of what their item is selling. So if they're selling this Dell computer, they look it up, they find it on Gumtree. It's like, oh, look at this one, it's $2,000. I'll sell mine for $1,990. But they don't go and look at all the rest and see, like, actually they're selling for $500.
Yeah,
that's what they're worth. Like, one person has made a mistake and everyone else, all these inexperienced people are, or, unsophisticated people are following that mistake. And see, these halfbacks are, like, following that mistake that Newcastle and Dylan Brown made. And all it is their item is being listed on eBay and expiring.
Well, you think about, if you think of clubs, the Dragons could do with him. The Tigers.
No, haven't you heard? Oh man, the Dragons. So Kyle Flanagan apparently approached his dad and said, maybe I should play halfback to take the pressure off. What's the young guy that's been playing halfback the last few weeks? Because it was all Lachlan Ellis's fault. The Dragons were inconsistent.
Is it Lycan?
Yeah.
Lycan?
So this week, Kyle Flanagan's been named at 7, and Lycan King Tongia has been named at 6, and that's because Kyle Flanagan went to his dad and said, let me take the pressure off him because I've been really consistent and I should play 7. Because I think the more to that is that now Kyle Flanagan thinks halfbacks are worth $1 million a year, so I want to play 7.
Yeah, I do apologise. How could I forget that the coach's son plays in the halves for the Dragons? Okay, I'll look at some other clubs. West Tigers, I think they could really do with Toby Sexton. I think he'd be a great fit.
Best.
Because then Luai would go to 5'8", you'd have Sexton at halfback. That is a great fit.
And they've got money.
It's basically a trade with the Bulldogs, Galvin for Sexton.
I don't reckon.
That's right. They do have money now. They were going to throw $1 million a year.
I don't reckon
or
the
$6
Bulldogs.
million at Galvin.
I don't reckon the Bulldogs would allow it though. That's the real. That's what I think that's.
Well, I think the Bulldogs would think now, we may as well just keep Sexton till the end of the year.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because they don't. The thing is, they may have a plan in the back of their mind, but they don't really know how things are going to go over the next 2 or 3 weeks. We don't know how Sexton's going to play. And this is the interesting thing. This is what Greg Alexander and Cooper Cronk and Kevin Walters were having a debate about on TV the other night. Is I think Cronk said that they were debating, well, what are the Bulldogs going to do with Galvin? This was obviously before the team was named. And Cronk was saying, well, the problem with putting Galvin straight in there is, well, what happens if they lose a couple of games to start? He's going to get blamed straight away. And then Greg Alexander threw up the other scenario and said, yeah, but what if they leave Sexton there and Sexton wins man of the match in the next 2 games? So these are the interesting scenarios that are thrown up now.
Exactly.
As a result of, and so there's sort of this. I think Cronk was saying he thought that Galvin should have actually been in New South Wales Cup. And Walters and Alexander were saying that they think he should be thrown straight in at halfback. Well, it's actually a bit each way. It's neither of those, because he's probably going to be playing off the bench in first grade with Sexton at halfback.
Who do you replace off the bench though?
Well, this is the problem. Haywood sort of plays that role of that back utility on the bench. And so if you have Galvin there, well, you got Galvin and Haywood on the bench, 2 back utilities.
They'd have to drop Haywood.
And then that means, and that's a big call given his form as well.
Exactly. They can't drop any of the forwards to have 2 utilities. Surely not.
You can't have 2 utilities and 2 forwards on the bench.
Exactly. So they have to drop Haywood. And so they got the Eels this week, and then they've got the Rabbitohs after that, then a bye. Then the Panthers is the last game in June.
Right.
So they've got a pretty easy run right now as well. That's the big thing. Like Toby Sexton could run out and have 3 man of the match performances of those 3 teams, given their current form.
Yeah. See, what I think they're just waiting to lose one more game, and then they'll put.
That turf Sexton. Yeah.
That's my. As soon as they lose one game, Sexton will be gone. Galvin will be.
And I really think the Bulldogs will either way shaft Sexton and not let him go this year. So he'll be stuck in reserve grade.
Keep the option up their sleeve in case
he'll be stuck in reserve grade for the rest of the year, or maybe he'll come back, or maybe someone will be injured. But their intention would be to keep him in reserve grade.
Well, they figure they may as well keep him on their books. We're in June now. There's only half the season to go. May as well keep him, see what happens.
Whereas if they actually cared about the player, they would let him go now to another club where he could get a run, because everybody knows what's actually going to happen. And yeah, someone like the Tigers, the Titans could probably use him. The Eels.
Yeah, well, he's just going to have to.
Actually, going to the Eels and putting Mitchell Moses to 6 would be really good too.
I'm sure he would play 6 outside Moses. With Brown going to Newcastle.
Yeah, Brown could go to the back row or something like that, because he's big enough. And
I don't think Dylan Brown would want to go to Newcastle this year.
Oh
anyway,
God, nobody wants to go to Newcastle this year.
The basket case that they are this year. Imagine, and the huge deal that he's on. Imagine the pressure that he would be under. Because the microscope would be on him straight away, and if he's not getting results straight away, people will be saying, "Oh, this is the worst deal in the history of the NRL."
And the coach there is surely fine. They're not. He's on the side of that knife's edge he's been running for the past few years. Whichever coach comes in next year, stuck with this 10-year Dylan Brown deal. So taking him this year, if Adam O'Brien and whoever's at the management at Knights now was to take Dylan Brown this year, and he was to play really poorly and Knights continue their run of form, and then the coach next year is stuck with this 10-year Dylan Brown deal.
Powerball.
Yeah.
He's a Powerball
Oh,
winner.
man.
But yeah, Dylan Brown's better off not going to
definitely not.
Newcastle this year. Better off just playing the year out at Parramatta. Parramatta fans are used to disappointment and they're second last on the ladder, so nothing's changed there. He can just sort of ease through the rest of the season with Parramatta and then, get ready for his big 10-year, $13 million Powerball contract.
Yeah, that thing has broken rugby league. You can't believe that a single contract has honestly, basically broken rugby league.
Yeah.
It's really every...
And you can really understand it from Toby Sexton's point of view. He's looking at Dylan Brown, who's a playmaker in the team that's second last on the ladder at the moment, and he gets a $13 million 10-year deal. Toby Sexton looks at that and goes, "What? I'm the halfback in the team that's on top of the ladder, leading the competition. This guy's getting a $13 million 10-year deal. Where's my payday?" And so you can understand why Toby Sexton would then go, who's off contract this year, would then go, "Well, show me the money."
Yeah, well, that's every half at the moment, Toby Sexton most of all, because also he's had the Lachlan Galvin brought in. But every half that's been what's his name? The Raiders guy, Jamal Fogarty. He took a big money deal. You've got Daly Cherry-Evans.
Who's going to go?
Who's Daly Cherry-Evans? He is. Daly Cherry-Evans versus again Dylan Brown. Daly Cherry-Evans is going. Well, they want to drop me to $750.
Yeah, no.
Compared to Dylan Brown. I'm Daly Cherry-Evans, mate. Compared to that's the thing, right? He can go. Compared to Dylan Brown, I'm Daly Cherry-Evans. That's a comparison I can make.
Yeah.
All of them.
Although his form hasn't been great.
No.
Well, he played well the other night, but his Origin game wasn't great. We'll get to that a bit later.
We'll see on Sunday whether Lachlan Galvin is put on the bench.
I mean, to be honest, we won't really know until an hour before kickoff because that's when the actual...
Yeah.
So
they have to reduce it to what?
Yeah, they reduce it. They pull it down. I think they pull
20?
it down to... They cut players, so they pull it down to 19 with 24 hours before kickoff. And then 1 hour before kickoff is the final team. But so we won't know for sure. But if he makes the 19, he's going to be in the team.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to know 24 hours before.
Exactly. Meanwhile, as you touched on, Michael Chammas once again. Well, he got his spot on 100. Is it 100% footy? It's called.
Yeah, he got his job back.
Got his job back because no Mitchell Moses, agent, managed player was on the thing this week apparently. So Michael Chammas is allowed to be on 100% footy, and he gave it to Phil Gould. I'm not going to watch this Channel 9 garbage because I can't believe they dropped Michael Chammas, but I'm happy to watch the TikToks that are all making fun of Phil Gould.
Yeah.
Because he gave it to him, and if you watched last night as well, Angus Crichton as well kind of gave it to Phil Gould, more jokingly than Michael Chammas, but that was funny because Phil Gould was confronting Angus Crichton about the Roosters recruitment, and Angus Crichton said, "Well, what are you supposed to do? You sign everybody."
And isn't that? And I know they were joking. Look, to be honest, I didn't see it. Was that Monday night's one?
I don't know if it was.
So it must have been Monday night. Yeah. It's Wednesday.
Yesterday
afternoon.
I was very sick and I lost all my days. So.
Oh, so you watched it? Yeah. But even that, I know they were joking. But even that has got to annoy someone like Angus Crichton when there's been so much in the media about Phil Gould's role in this Lachlan Galvin saga.
Yeah, 100%.
And then he's questioning Angus Crichton about the Roosters recruitment. Angus Crichton could turn around and have a look at yourself, mate.
Well, that's what he basically did.
Yeah,
And, you got to remember, all jokes have some truth to them.
Yeah.
When someone invents, a funny jest, there's some truth to it.
Yeah.
And
that's what makes it funny,
that's the what's it called? Opposite of... What's the difference between tragedy and comedy? The tragedy is when the bad things happen to the protagonist. Comedy is when bad things happen to the antagonist. And in a situation in which people are teasing each other, in that situation to Angus Crichton, it's a comedy. But to Phil Gould, because he's the good guy in the situation, someone teased him, so tragedy has happened to his protagonist. So there's always tragedy and comedy in a little dig like that, and Angus Crichton was right, and like I said, there's some truth to it. And then on the back of Michael Chammas, as I said at the beginning, last week we missed it by a day.
Yeah.
Everything Michael Chammas said was correct, and Phil Gould really, he once again ran around in circles. Like, he's basically an internet Reddit poster, he just runs around in circles doing whataboutisms and strawman arguments to avoid admitting that there was anything wrong in what he did.
Yeah, and I noticed with Phil Gould when he went back at Chammas, he said Phil Gould's so used to being sucked up to on that show because Paul Gallen sort of jokes about having a go at him but doesn't really have a go at him, and Danny Weidler just plainly sucks up to him all the time. So he's not actually used to being properly taken to task on that show. Now, what I sort of noticed about Gould was he would just make these blanket statements in reply to Chammas. Like, he'd say things like, "Oh, all that media garbage" or "media rubbish."
Yeah, whataboutism? But
he never... And he would never go into specific examples because he doesn't have any specific examples. Doesn't have any. That's why you never hear Gould go into any specifics. So it's just out and out. He was just trying to bully Chammas. That's all he was doing. And there are a few things that I pointed out in that column I wrote about it last week. He contradicted himself, and I know it's hard on the fly, but maybe Chammas should have pointed some of this stuff out as well. I know it's hard when you're on live TV going up against Phil Gould. It's a high pressure situation. But Gould said he was talking about Toby Sexton of all people, the man of the moment. He said, quote, "We spoke again on Friday and I'd admitted to Sexton on Friday that the previous day I'd had some discussions with Lachlan Galvin." He said that was a quote from Phil Gould. And then later on he denied having ever met Lachlan Galvin. He says, quote, "I haven't met Lachlan Galvin. I really haven't," end quote. So it's a contradiction.
Yeah, I haven't met him in person. It's such an internet argument kind of thing that he does, where there's a bunch of whataboutisms, there's analogies, there's strawman arguments, and there's backtracking in semantics. I haven't met Lachlan Galvin.
It's semantics because these days Zoom chat or a phone call is the same as meeting someone.
I haven't met him. I haven't actually met him. But you've spoken to him. Yeah, but I haven't met him. I said I haven't met him.
Yeah. So he goes hard on "I haven't met him," but he doesn't actually say that he hasn't spoken to him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the internet is like. If you ever engage, I do a lot of AI testing on the internet to see how AI responds to arguments and things like that. And you can see, even AI does it. Really, because the way AI learns, or large language model learns, is they read what other people do and they take it on board and then they adjust themselves for that. So when you do it, you see AI start doing it. It'll say "No, I haven't met him. I have spoken to him, but I never said I hadn't spoken to him. I said I hadn't met him."
Yeah. Semantics.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It's semantic based
because in this scenario, what does it matter that he hadn't met him personally? If he's spoken to him on the phone or spoken to him on Zoom or whatever, it's the same these days as actually meeting someone in person.
Exactly.
It has the same effect. This is a negotiation for an NRL playing contract. Talking to someone on the phone, talking to them on Zoom is basically the same thing as meeting them in person.
I haven't met half the clients I deal with at work.
You still deal with them? You still talk to them?
Long term, some of them I've had as clients for 6 years, but I've never met them.
Yeah.
I never met them. Never met them.
And there were some other lines that were just ridiculous from Gould as well. He said, and I quote, "There's not another CEO, another general manager or recruitment manager that has to sit on a panel and answer these questions week in, week out." He chooses to go on that show. He chooses to appear on Channel 9 on a huge salary. I'm sorry, if you're going to take the money, if you're going to do that job, then you got to accept that reporters are going to hold you to account.
That's one of his whataboutisms. Oh, what about all the other CEOs? That's irrelevant.
They're not paid by Channel 9. They're not on Channel 9's payroll.
If the other CEOs were part of panels every week and not just guests, they would have to put up with it. And the other thing is the hypocrisy that he shows. When other CEOs are on panels as guests where Phil Gould is on them, he hammers them in the exact same way. He is the person who is the Michael Chammas. What he did to David Gallop after the Melbourne Storm salary cap drama...
Yeah, I saw that, actually.
I saw
recently.
because I commented on it at the time, and I saw a Facebook memory 6 years ago or whatever, when it came out, whatever it was, Facebook.
The 2010, the scandal.
Your memories from 14 years ago, and I shared the video because in that, it's the same. It's on the fly. David Gallop had no answers. Phil Gould pulled out a piece of paper with a list of pre-prepared questions, and of course David Gallop had no answers to them, and some of them were ridiculous. It's a little bit off topic, but like I said, the point is, when he has people on the panel, CEOs, general managers of football, whatever, he does the exact same thing. And what about it?
And the thing is, you mentioned that he does the exact same thing to others who have official roles with the club. They don't get paid for it. He at least gets paid for it. That's the difference. He's on a huge hundreds of thousands of dollars a year salary with Channel 9, where he's actually getting paid to answer the questions. If they get someone on as a guest, they're not being paid.
You shouldn't be. But he was basically saying, you shouldn't be treating me like the general manager of football or whatever because I'm on the panel. So you should be treating me as a panelist. No, not at all. You constantly bring up or use you being on the panel to manipulate and do things for the Bulldogs as a general manager of football, whatever his bloody role is. And so that's you get what you get. You can't get upset about it, That's just the way it is. And like you said, he's getting paid big dollars to be on Channel 9. He's getting paid big dollars to be the general manager of football or whatever it is for the Bulldogs. And he has to answer those questions. And you can't, the whataboutism's really what really got me. It's such a childish thing. What about, you don't do this to other people. No one else has to do it.
Yeah,
what about them? Why isn't...
childish.
Who's the Dragon CEO? I don't even know. This is the thing. I don't know most of the CEOs or general managers of football for most of the club.
Peter Doust for a while. I'm not sure.
That's a long time ago gone, man. I think it's Ryan Webb maybe, but that might have been last year. That's the thing. I don't even know the CEO or if there is a general manager of football for my own club. Everybody knows Phil Gould is involved with the Bulldogs, and everybody knew he was involved with the Panthers. Because he's so prominent and on the panels. I really wonder who there are general manager of footballs and CEOs and stuff that will appear on panels, and I even went to an event earlier this year where he was there, the Dragon CEO.
Tim Watsford.
Yeah, that's his name. Yeah. Okay. And most people couldn't name the difference or who the chairman and CEO of the Bulldogs are. I tell you, most people can't. But they can tell you who the general manager of football is. Aaron Warburton, and I think John Curry is the chairman.
He's been there for a while.
Yeah, I know that because I go to a lot of Bulldogs events. And SmartB is part of the Bulldogs in Business Club. So that's the only reason I know, because they talk at the events. Aaron's very nice, very forthcoming, really nice guy. Very happy to spend time with his sponsors and all that kind of thing. But he doesn't get paid to go sit on a panel. And if he was on a panel, he would get asked the same questions. That's the thing.
And from Channel 9's point of view, they're paying Phil Gould that salary. Well, part of that salary means that they want, given his role as general manager of football at the Bulldogs, well, they want some inside info. That's part of the reason why they're prepared to pay him that salary. Is they want him to speak as the Bulldogs general manager. That's part of the reason why they're paying him that salary. So they certainly don't want him dodging these questions. Yeah. They want him answering the questions.
It's not fair that to everybody complains about. Not fair to every other club that he has such a powerful position in media and tries to say that he's impartial. He lied. He said he didn't lie, but he definitely lied on television, on his panels, about Lachlan Galvin. He tricked everyone. He basically courted Lachlan Galvin on air when you're not allowed to talk directly to the players or their agents, but he basically did. It's Wonder Woman 1984. Maxwell Lord, if he speaks to you in front of you, he can convince you to grant you your favourite wish or whatever. Have you ever watched Wonder Woman 1984? But then he gets more powerful and wants to sit and talk to the whole world through television. That's what television was. That's what television was invented for. You can talk to the whole world. You can send your message, right? Phil Gould was sending his message for the past year, courting Lachlan Galvin.
And what about what he said towards the end of the exchange, where he said, and I quote, "Mind your words, son," to Chammas? That was just a pathetic and patronising insult. That's just...
No.
That's just hopeless from Phil Gould.
I would have replied
Hopeless.
and said no. And apparently it continued when it went to ad break as well. Like the ad break came and they would continued snarking at each other because Michael Chammas just, as a journalist, he wants people to be truthful, right? He's a journalist. That's his job role, right? He's a journalist. He wants people to be truthful because if you remember during the beginning of the Lachlan Galvin situation, an inside source gave whoever it was, Danny Weidler or something, thinking about those two players that were also being investigated.
Yeah.
And then the Tigers came out and said, no, that's not true, right? That's, as a journalist, that adversely affected I think it was Danny Weidler, I don't know whoever it was, that adversely affected that journalist. So as a journalist, you report on what you're told. If you can't trust your sources, then how can you report? So every journalist reported on what Phil Gould's been saying is we're not interested in Lachlan Galvin, we're not going to sign Lachlan Galvin. Everyone reported that. So he basically made every journalist look like a fool as well.
Yeah, and then that's the reason why the reason why Isaac Moses didn't want Mitchell Moses to go on that show with Michael Chammas is because Isaac Moses was worried that Chammas was going to ask him questions about Isaac Moses.
Is that,
yeah.
We'll move on to the next one?
Yeah, so that's a little segue. That's
unbelievable.
That's why, because he knew that Chammas is a hard-hitting journo who holds people accountable. So he wanted to avoid that scenario.
Saw what show is Phil Rothfield on?
NRL 360.
Okay, so I saw clips from NRL 360. Yeah, with Gordon Tallis and stuff, right? Yeah. So I saw clips from that with where they were talking about, they were having a bit of an argument over, now the leaks are, that everything that was at the Tigers was initiated by Lachlan Galvin, and Isaac Moses took the attacks to shield the young person, right? This is the rumours that are coming out now. Anybody who believes that, I've got a Harbour Bridge I can sell you, okay? Honestly.
Yeah.
Like, this is the thing, right? So
I was just going to say, sorry, just before we move on to the next item, Chammas actually wrote a column after the exchange with Gould as well. And I got to be honest, I didn't like it. I think if you're going to go at him, yeah, go for it. It was good. It was great TV. But he wrote this column as if someone told him to write it to soften the blow. And he said, I have nothing, I'm quoting Chammas' column, I have nothing but respect for Gus, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't question him. As a kid, I would rush home from footy training to make sure I could record Phil Gould staring down the camera and delivering his impassioned speech before Origin games, then watch it on repeat until I had memorised all of it. I won't read the rest of it out, but that gives you the gist. I didn't like how he had to write this puff piece column about Gould to soften the blow. Obviously, someone told him to write it to soften the blow. But I didn't like that. I thought, yeah, go at him, all for that, great TV, but don't backtrack and write some puff piece about him afterwards.
Yeah, what I was getting to with the rumours now, right, is that really speaks to that, Isaac Moses didn't want Chammas to ask Mitchell Moses about Isaac Moses, because now the rumours are coming out that Lachlan Galvin is the bad guy. This is just rumours. No confirmed sources. Lachlan Galvin was actually the bad guy in all the situation, and Isaac Moses is the good guy for taking the shots. So Isaac Moses is a great man. And if Chammas had asked, I doubt he would have even asked, to be honest. Because what does Mitchell Moses have to do with Lachlan Galvin's relationship with Isaac Moses? I don't even think it would have come up, to be honest. Like, I can't.
Well, the way that he could have framed it, I think what they might have been worried about were, I mean, at that time, his future hadn't been resolved, and he was still strongly linked to Parramatta. So I think that's how Chammas may have gone down that line. Obviously Lachlan Galvin's, he's being linked to Parramatta. What are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on your manager's role in the? You have the same cousins. Manager. Your cousin. Your cousin is the manager of Lachlan Galvin. What are your thoughts on his role?
And you think Isaac Moses clearly likes to control the narrative, right?
Yeah, look, but I guess when you think about it like that, you can. I mean, we don't know for sure. I mean, we can't.
We're just speculating.
We're speculating, but you can. I can see Chammas trying to work that line of questioning.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I can see like this thing with the reason he didn't want him on. Like, I can't see really. I mean, now that you explain it, he could find a way to slide it in. But I can't see what would motivate him to, except if he was chasing good television. Like to basically pick on Mitchell Moses over the Lachlan Galvin and Isaac Moses situation. But now the rumours are that Isaac Moses is a good guy. And he really likes to control the narrative, clearly. Right? Isaac Moses does. Yeah. He uses his sources and his television and his stuff to control the narrative, right? And like that with Michael Chammas basically questioning his stable now for the rest of his life. He's not going to be able to control that. One thing I'm really appreciating about Michael Chammas coming into his own this year is it's clear he will not be controlled as much by fear of retribution from these power brokers in the game. No,
and look, it is you got to excuse me, you got to give credit where it's due. It's a very gutsy thing to do for someone like Chammas to take on Phil Gould on Channel 9. Phil Gould's a powerful identity in the game. Obviously a long-time commentator with Channel 9. He's a powerful identity at Channel 9 as well. And Chammas working there at Channel 9, for him to take on Phil Gould, well, it's risky. Yeah. Because, there are people Phil Gould can call at Channel 9.
We already know that Channel 9 will bow to those powerful people. They'll if...
Well, they're bowed to someone who doesn't even work there. So if they're bowing to someone who doesn't even work there, well, then I'm sure they're going to bow to someone who's worked there for decades.
Exactly.
In a prominent TV role.
So it is. Like, I'm really appreciating Michael Chammas coming into his own here, where, like, becoming more prominent here, because it seems like he just doesn't care. He'll just cop it. Yeah. He did write that puff piece afterwards.
And that does take away from it, I have to say. I've got to be honest. Yeah.
You lose a little. You get it back, like 2 steps forward, 1 step back there.
That's it.
But I'm really interested now for the rest of the year to see what else Michael Chammas is going to come up with.
Yeah, and at least, you would. Again, we're on a Channel 9 boycott here, but if I was going to think about watching a Channel 9 show, Chammas would have to be on it for me to watch it. I wouldn't watch any of their other shows with any of their other panels.
I'm now curious, but I still won't watch it. I'll just keep hanging on.
No, I'll only watch... Look, I watched the Gould one only because I heard that it was spicy, and I watched it on YouTube. But I wouldn't actually go out of my way to watch the show on TV.
I'll keep watching.
I'll watch the clips online.
I'll keep watching my clips, but I won't watch anything on Channel 9. We're going to have to watch the grand final. And the finals, right?
Just the grand final is only on 9. All the other finals are on Fox.
On State of Origin this year as well.
Origin and grand finals only on 9.
Anyway, moving along, we can finish with Michael Chammas, our new hero. So, I tipped 3 from 3 at the beginning of this round. I was so happy after the last few weeks. And then the Broncos just collapsed.
Sorry, I was just going to say, did you want to talk about that, the Isaac Moses item?
Where is it? I don't see that.
The one twist after Chammas was axed from... that one's on the... That's on the... Remember how he got pulled off because Isaac Moses wanted him to be pulled off? Yeah. So that item's just about... the reason... Part of the reason why they pulled... why they bowed to Isaac Moses' demands is because Isaac Moses also manages Cameron Smith and Today Show star Danica Mason as well.
Oh, really?
So that's sort of the plot thickening. So they reckon that's why the reason it was reported, it's sort of come out afterwards in the weeks afterwards, but the reason why they bowed to Isaac Moses and took Michael Chammas off 100% footy was because Isaac Moses manages Cameron Smith and Danica Mason. But what I would say to that is, what's he going to do? I mean, the thing is, all right, he might manage Cameron Smith and Danica Mason, but they still need a job. Yeah. They still need an income. If Isaac Moses says, Danica Mason and Cameron Smith aren't going to appear on your network then.
Okay.
Then Danica Mason and Cameron Smith will say, Isaac, we need a job here. you are our manager, but we have a job here. We want to do our job.
The response to that by Channel 9 would be, okay. Like, there's 900 other ex-rugby league players we could get on.
Yeah. If Cameron Smith...
We've already got like 100 of them in our books.
Cameron Smith's a high-profile former player, but there are a lot of other high-profile former players.
Okay.
There are a lot of... And there are other...
You know who'll fill in for him? Kevy.
Yeah, and look, I've got no problem with Danica Mason at all, but if she went to them and said, I'm not doing it because you've alienated my manager, they would go, all right, we'll get another journalist to do the job.
Yep, plenty of other people out there who do it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what? Then Cameron Smith and Danica Mason are going to go to Isaac Moses and go, you got us fired, bro.
So why did Channel 9 just roll over and bow to his demands?
That's like...
Again, they're a broadcast rights holder. They pay the NRL $600 million on the current TV rights deal. That means they have power in the game. That means they should have rang Peter V'landys or Andrew Abdo and sorted it out when Isaac Moses tried to strong-arm them into pulling successfully into pulling Michael Chammas off the show.
And like, there's nothing there nothing, not a single thing, right? Where Isaac Moses holds all the cards here. Nothing. Okay.
No.
So
that's not enough of a reason.
We just won't have your players
on
the panel. Okay. Your managed personalities can just go. Okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. Okay. Like, what is the threat here? Are you going to stop every other player from coming on? Is that your threat? Are you going to stop every other ex-player or media personality from... You know, we're Channel 9, right?
Yeah. if he went to Channel 9 and said, if you... and threatened to pull Cameron Smith and Danica Mason off the channel... All right.
What's that, Jeremy Clarkson?
Just get some other former NRL player to take Cameron Smith's spot.
And Michael Chammas.
Find another journalist to do that.
Do you want to fill in for Danica, Michael?
That's the thing.
Sure.
Can you imagine the conversation between Isaac Moses and Cameron Smith and Danica Mason? It would be, I don't like what they did to me, so don't go into Channel 9 and do your job. Then they would go, Isaac, we need an income. We need to work. We need a job here. We want to work.
There's not a single thing that Isaac Moses has over Channel 9. Channel 9 should have done that Jeremy Clarkson meme. Oh no! Anyway, there's not a single thing that he could actually do to them. You know, if he goes to Channel 9 and says none of my players are going to be on your thing anymore, and none of the personalities I manage are going to be on Channel 9. Okay, it's fine. Yeah. Do you manage like all 500 NRL players? Because there's out of the 30 or whatever you manage, there's like 400 more we can pick from here.
And of course, Channel 9 would win that war because they're a TV rights holder in the game.
Because the actual response from Channel 9 could have been, you know what, Isaac? From now on, we're not going to hire any of your ex-players or media personalities. From now on, we're not going to have any of your players on. From now on, when your players retire, they won't be able to get a job at Channel 9 as a sideline commentator. And you know what else, my darling? Because Channel 9 has like last rights of refusal and stuff like that from things like... Remember that whole deal with Latrell on the sideline with Triple M last year where he swore and stuff like that? And it was redirected to Triple M shouldn't have been filming anyway. Channel 9 submitted a complaint that Triple M shouldn't have been filming anyway. Because they have that kind of control as well. They let a lot of stuff fly. They let a lot of stuff go forever. And they can go, okay, Isaac, you know what we're going to do? We're going to tell Triple M that any of your managed personalities are no longer allowed on the sideline. Yeah. You know what, Isaac? He holds no cards.
So it's like, oh, wow, all right, you didn't get one interview with Mitchell Moses and now... Danica Mason and Cameron Smith might be pulled off there. So what? Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
What do they think? What, their whole network is gonna I guess die because of those three things happening? It's just not realistic.
This is crazy. It was a crazy situation, and honestly, I've said it before, I'll say it again, the NRL should be investigating it and deregistering Isaac Moses. Okay.
Yes.
Broncos versus Manly. Oh my God, what is going on in the Broncos? A lot of people are blaming Michael Maguire, Phil Rothfield, who I very rarely agree with. Do I agree with anyone? Has slammed the Broncos.
Chammas.
I mean, yeah, agree with him most of the time. Has slammed the Broncos over their piss-poor effort against Manly, and I got to say, I think the Broncos need a clean-out. I think there's a lot of players that are unhappy there. I think Phil Rothfield is 100% right. It's all the players' fault. You can't blame Michael Maguire. It's beyond ridiculous at this point now. They have a premiership winning squad and they just aren't playing on the field. And if Michael Maguire can't get those players up to play on the field, get rid of the players.
Yeah, Phil Rothfield's gone very strong on this on NRL 360 the other night. He says that Michael Maguire, quote, has a communication problem with the Broncos players and they can't all relate to him. He said that.
Mm-hmm. Get rid of the ones who can't.
He also said... He said, look, I think Madge is an intense sort of dude and they can't all relate to him. He said that what he saw the other night, quote, there was no heart, no desire, no passion, no idea.
Get rid of him.
He says he's very intense. He has to change his style.
No, doesn't have to change his style. Get rid of the players.
Rothfield also says Maguire has taken the team backwards substantially as well.
No, not really.
He's accused the CEO and chairman of hiding behind their phones and they've disappeared. They're not answering questions for anybody.
Nobody ever questions them anyway. Who are the CEO and the chairman?
And then Gordon Tallis also said that Michael Maguire's safe as coach because CEO Dave Donaghy and the chairman Carl Morris would have to sack themselves if they sacked Michael Maguire because of all the other coaches they've sacked. So there's no way that Michael Maguire is going to get sacked here because if they sack him, the CEO and the chairman will have to sack themselves at the Broncos. It's a circus. Apparently Payne Haas is unhappy, their star player at the moment.
Well,
and he wants
that's
out.
been explained because his manager sent one of those. These are all the players you're allowed to negotiate with. And Payne Haas was accidentally.
Accidentally included on the email. Yeah.
Hey, maybe he ticked the wrong box on his filter box on his Excel spreadsheet. All right.
Yeah, it was an accident. My apologies. Yeah.
But I agree with everything that Phil Rothfield said about the players. I don't agree with anything he said about Michael Maguire. I think Michael Maguire should just sack them all. I think if Payne Haas is unhappy, Michael Maguire should let go of Payne Haas. I think the Broncos are in a Cameron Serrato coming in situation, at the Bulldogs, and that's what needs to happen. Just let them all go, because they've gone through the coaches. They've tried since 2006. They tried Wayne Bennett. They tried. They've gone through them all. Yeah. The attitude of the players is what's wrong. If the players don't want to get on board with the coach, clubs need to stop sacking the coaches. They're all rich enough now to just let all the players go. If Payne
That's
Haas,
the thing. What do these players expect? Do they expect they're not going to be worked hard at training or something?
Yeah, that seems to be the way.
They're playing in the NRL, these players. What do they expect?
If Payne Haas, who is definitely the best front rower in the world at the moment, if he wants to go, show him that he is not bigger than the club and let him go. There are literally 16 other clubs in the NRL that will take him, and there are however many Super League clubs that will take him. I don't know how many Super League clubs there are right now, but 100% of them would take him. He would be easy to get rid of with very little transfer fee. You don't want to be here? On your bike. If Reece Walsh doesn't want to be there, cool, man. I know you're the Broncos' favourite son. We'll get to your continued antics in a minute. Okay, don't want to work hard? See you later, off you go. There's probably about 10 clubs that'll take Reece Walsh as a fullback. Whoever else is there, I don't know who else is at the... If Carrigan, he's a great player. If he doesn't want to be there, cool, man. There's 10 other clubs that'll take you. And then he just has to recruit in players that are willing to get on board. Starts with a leader like Stephen Crichton. Starts with a responsible player that can come in and people will want to follow into whatever Michael Maguire is doing. They sack another coach and they bring in who? It's just the same thing. The players have decided the coach. The players have decided which direction the team is going, and the players are just... Whenever the lunatics are running the asylum collapses. It's historically. When they say stupid things like, the coach has lost the training room, that's all right after 4 years or 3 years.
But not half a season.
Yeah, no, he should lose the training room because the problem with the Broncos is the players run the club. Their personalities are bigger than the club, and they each individually seem to think they are bigger than the club. And to get a team to the top of the ladder and to the team winning premierships, you look at all of the successful clubs. The most successful clubs you can just use this year. Which player ever at Melbourne, ever, let alone this year, has acted like they're bigger than the club and said, I want to get out? None, because Craig Bellamy hires players that will get on board with
and
the
if they did, he would get rid of them.
Yeah, they'd be gone within like a day.
Yeah.
Like the Marty Tapau thing. The Bulldogs. Which player there thinks they're bigger than their club? Bigger than the club?
Yeah, well, no one at the moment.
If Toby Sexton wants to... I mean, I know we've just had a big thing about how like Toby Sexton's getting rooted right now, but if he was to start big noting himself and act like he's bigger than the club, mate, gone. See you later. Out the door.
And that's the thing. The thing to take away from the Lachlan Galvin situation is he knocked back a $6 million deal with the West Tigers to go to the Bulldogs on less money, on $750,000 a year. He could have got, whether you agree with it or not, he could have got a lot more money at the club he was already at, and probably some other clubs. He would have got more at Parramatta too. But he's chosen to go to the Bulldogs on less money. So that just shows you...
How many years did he sign for?
3. The Bulldogs, 3.5 to the end of 2028.
Well,
the point I'm trying to make is, I think that just shows the strength of the culture at the Bulldogs now, that a player like that is willing to go there on less money and buy into what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But like, if he starts behaving like he did at the Tigers, he'll be sacked the next day.
Yeah, well, that's and maybe. I know we're getting a little bit off track here, but maybe that naming him in the jersey 23, maybe part of that is you got to know your place here, son. Like,
yeah, maybe. Yeah. If he doesn't get named, it definitely is, you know. And that's the thing with the Broncos. None of them know their place. They all individually seem to think they are bigger than the club. All of them individually. I mean, there's probably some players there that aren't like that, but it's the players that you see in the media, like Payne Haas, Reece Walsh, Selwyn Cobbo, Ezra Mam. The only ones that don't are the guys like Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt, who have been around the block, who have been at clubs where they've been the favourite son and been sacked. You know, so they realise no one's bigger than the club, man. No one's bigger than the club.
No, well, as you pointed out, at the well-run clubs and the clubs who are doing well, the players don't run the club.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the Broncos... I just think Michael Maguire... Broncos are a super rich club, man. He should just start cutting checks, basically, and letting everyone go.
And the CEO and the chairman should back him in because, as we pointed out, they're in no position to be sacking another coach.
Exactly.
So of all the options they have available, the CEO and the chairman, well, their one option really is just to back the coach all the way because they don't have the option of sacking him.
Who would they get? If they sacked him, who would they get?
Who would know?
Yeah, like
it's you know, he's half a season into his time there. I think people just need to hold their horses on that one.
They need to really think about that. People some idiots who are calling for his sacking and saying like they need to let him go. Who would they get? Okay, that can make a change in half a season. That Michael Maguire hasn't been able to make. Who? A rookie coach? One of those new up-and-comers? I don't know who the next one is, because, you know, Jason Rolls was the last one, Cameron Serrato was the one before that. Who would they get? Or some experienced coach that you bring in, you know, like Wayne Bennett, that also wasn't able to...
Well, I guess Wayne Bennett would say, I'm the only one who can win premierships for the Broncos, but, I mean...
Well, you didn't your second stint, did you? You actually lost one, right?
But you know, to be honest, I thought the bookies had them in the top 2 or 3 favourites for the premiership earlier in the season when they were winning some games. But I thought the bookies were always overrating them a bit.
If you remember,
didn't think they were as good as the bookies thought.
Well, if you remember when Kevy was there, they were like 14th or 15th for the bookies, and then as soon as Madge was signed, they went to second.
And I thought that was a bit overkill. Yeah, that was a bit much.
But it was. We talked about it at the time, and it was like we talked about it because of some media personalities commenting on how he's a bad coach. But even the bookies like thought way too much of him. But you know, he was never going to win a premiership in his first year, and the only way he's going to be able to turn that club around is to make massive changes. I just think that that thing that some coaches do, like when Trent Robinson first came on board at the Roosters and he brought in Sonny Bill, and Sonny Bill changed the culture. They talked about it at the time. Him coming to training for the first session, he rocked up in like, a college shirt and slacks, and all the rest of the people were rocking up in shorts and thongs, and he was like, this is not professional. He rocked up with a notebook already, and all the rest of them, like the club didn't even hand out notebooks, and they didn't know. He just went straight to the front row, and all the other guys were like, and then apparently that turned the culture around there. Well, it's, now they need another Sonny Bill. I think Stephen Crichton has done wonders at the Bulldogs in that same kind of regard. Like, that's why Stephen Crichton's one of the best captains in the league. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly too early to be judging Maguire.
Yeah,
He's half a season into his tenure. You need to give him more time, a number of years. You need to give him a couple of years at least.
He's got to be able to let players go and bring in new players.
To get things moving in
That's
the right direction.
how coaches actually change stuff, right? They get rid of some players and they bring in new players. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Until he's had a chance to do that. Wow, that's some heavy rain.
Yeah, it's raining. It's pouring outside.
Wow. Until he's had a chance to do that, you can't make any judgment. If they get the wooden spoon this year, it's just, because look at them. But they won't. I don't think they will.
No, they won't get the spoon. They want to make the 8, though, I think.
The Titans and Eels and a few other clubs are more likely. Dragons are in the 8 this round.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're going well. So.
But continuing on, Reece Walsh has had a bit of a. Brisbane's Latrell Mitchell has had a bit of a.
The new Latrell Mitchell, eh?
Oh man! So he's not happy with some comments made about Ezra Mam, who was rushed back into the side. Due to injuries and stuff like that. Yeah,
so 2GB presenter Adam Hawes said that Ezra Mam should cop his criticism on the chin after a wave of crowd boos. Mam was booed mercilessly every time he touched the ball in the Broncos' loss to the Sea Eagles in round 13. The Courier Mail reported Hawes on his radio show on Tuesday afternoon offered Mam some, quote, advice, telling the Broncos 5'8" to, quote, suck it up. And he said, if you're genuinely remorseful of your actions which injured a mother and her daughter, which is true, they did, you have to take it on the chin, Hawes said. Now, Reece Walsh, seeing the online video, immediately hit back in the comments section, ripping into the radio host, and he says, and I quote, how has he not copped it on the chin, end quote, Walsh said. And then he says, you've never stepped onto a field, so you wouldn't know what it's like out there. Good reporting, Adam, and he put Adam in caps on his post, end quote. Why is Reece Walsh pulling out the old, you haven't played a game, you wouldn't know anything? This issue has nothing to do with rugby league itself. This was an offence committed by Ezra Mam where he injured a mother and a daughter under the influence of drugs, driving on the other side of the road and crashing his car into them. This issue has nothing to do with whether Adam Hawes has played a game of first grade or not. What a stupid argument from Reece Walsh.
Well, that's just the one that they pull out. That's just another one of those whataboutisms. It's just the one they pull out because they have nothing else.
But at least you would get it if it was Adam Hawes saying something about the Broncos' attack or their defence. But Adam Hawes is commenting on Ezra Mam's off-field indiscretion. Yeah. So it's completely out of place for Reece Walsh to make that retort on social media.
Yeah, because he has no justification for it, so he just comes up with another bullcrap thing that's like, you haven't played, you don't know what it's like.
I'll tell you what,
I've driven.
I'll tell you what, we would talk about all the problems with the Broncos. I'll tell you what their biggest problem is. It's Reece Walsh.
Yeah,
there you go.
He's the Latrell Mitchell.
He's their biggest problem. He is their number one problem. He has too much power at that club. He makes a lot of... There's a lot of mistakes in his game. He's a talented player, but there's a lot of mistakes in his game. He comes at a cost. The cost is he makes a lot of mistakes and he carries on like a tool off the field and on social media like this. And he also punches people in the face with a boxing glove as well.
What I'd like to know is, has Reece Walsh ever driven? Has he ever had cocaine? And has he ever had a car accident? Because if he hasn't had all three of those, then he's not allowed to comment on the Ezra Mam situation. Because if he hasn't driven a car, then he doesn't know what it's like to drive a car. But Ezra Mam, so he can't comment on Ezra Mam. If he hasn't had cocaine, and I'd like to see if he admit it, then he can't comment on Ezra Mam's cocaine. And if he hasn't had a car accident, then he doesn't know anything about car accidents. That has more to do with playing rugby league.
And someone else made the point of saying, oh, look, it's not Ezra Mam's fault that he only copped a 9-game ban. What's he supposed to do about that? Yeah, but if people see that justice has not been done, and I see justice has not been done, I see that if somebody's driving on the other side of the road under the influence of drugs and crashes into a vehicle, injures a mother and a 4-year-old daughter, and only gets a 9-game ban and a slap on the wrist from the courts, I see that as justice not being done, and a lot of people would agree with that, and that's why they decide to boo him at the game.
Exactly.
He can't complain about being booed at the games. I'm sorry, people don't like what happened there with that incident, and they're going to boo, and he's got to put up with it. And that's it.
That's it. Exactly. It has nothing to do with whether you can have that opinion whether you've pulled on a boot before or not. It's
yeah, I don't think you need to have played rugby league to have an opinion on somebody crashing their car into a mother and a 4-year-old
Have you ever
daughter.
driven a car, Dan?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Have you ever had a car accident?
Obviously not one of that nature, but yes,
any
I
car
have.
accident's fine.
Yes, I have. Yes.
Well, then you can have an opinion.
Okay, thank you. John, have you ever driven?
I have driven a car.
Have you had a car accident?
I have. Some my fault, some not mine.
Okay, so you can have an opinion. Well done.
Yep, sweet. Thanks. Reece Walsh, have you ever driven a car? Like, this is the thing. Like, who's the radio presenter? Have you ever driven a car?
Adam Hawes.
Adam Hawes. Have you had a car accident? Because that's...
But Adam Hawes is 100% right.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Ezra Mam should just suck it up.
Yeah.
He's lucky that he's back playing already. He's lucky that it should have been a 12-month ban. He shouldn't be playing at all this season.
Totally.
I think it should have been a season out of the game.
Yeah, I do too.
And so you come back early, people don't like it, people are going to boo. Sorry, you're going to have to deal with that.
It's so unfair because no Broncos fans are booing or whatever. That's their other thing. That's their other complaint. Oh, the Broncos fans know that it's fair. That his ban was fair. No. That just clearly shows a bias, bro.
If Ezra Mam doesn't like it, quit rugby league.
Yeah.
Go do something else.
Exactly.
There's other jobs you can do.
Yep.
He's a young man.
Just
he
don't be
can
an
get
Uber
another
driver.
job. Go get another job.
Don't be an Uber driver, though.
Yeah. Don't be an Uber driver.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of other jobs out there, mate. So, yeah, go work in a sandwich shop. A la, who was it? Jake Friend. Go work in a pub in Atherton, like Todd Carney had to.
Yeah.
I know both of those guys had, repeated infringements, but I don't think either of them did anything quite as bad as what Ezra Mam did. So, he was lucky to only get 9 weeks. And keeping in mind, that was after Ezra Mam was already pinged in Bali in the off-season, I think, with Reece Walsh.
Yeah, there was another... Reece Walsh.
So just you kind of just have to zip it and accept it. No one's going to support you. It wore off for Matt Lodge eventually. You know, no one cares about Matt Lodge anymore. Well, he's retired now, but no one cared about him after the first season.
Yeah, people will eventually get over it.
Yeah, because I'll move on to the next thing.
He's only just come back from the suspension. So he's going to have to put up with it for a while longer. Exactly. And it is what it is. Suck it up.
Yeah. And so Origin teams are going to be named on Monday, I believe, after your Bulldogs game. Yep.
Yeah.
And there are reports that Billy Slater is going to follow media suggestions of dropping Daly Cherry-Evans.
Yeah, Brent Reid came out pretty strong on it on Triple M. He says, he thinks the Cherry-Evans will be gone, replaced by Tom Dearden. After the game, Andrew Johns was very strong on it. He was of the belief that DCE should be replaced by Tom Dearden in the Queensland
team. Never drop anyone. They told us that for years and years and years.
Yeah.
That was their New South Wales mistake. Not picking and sticking. Not being loyal just based on one bad game, Dan. What are you talking about? Billy Slater was one of the people who said that.
They were only loyal to winning, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's easier to say you're loyal when you win.
Yeah.
Of course it is. But
look,
he wasn't the worst on field. That's the thing, right? They got rolled.
This is the thing, and look, I think it looks like he's going to be dropped. I mean, there's strong reporting that he's going to be dropped. But I'll tell you what, there's pressure. The pressure now is on Billy Slater now.
Yeah.
It really is. He won his first 2 series. He lost last year, and now he's gone 1-0 down this year. The pressure, he might drop Cherry-Evans all right. If they lose this series, his job, I believe, is under threat.
100%.
You lose 2 series in a row as an Origin coach, you're gone.
Yeah.
I would, if Queensland lose this series, I'd sack Billy Slater as coach.
Oh, he'll definitely get sacked.
Yeah.
Even Queensland doesn't stick with their coach after 2 losses, right, in a row.
Yeah, I think he should go.
And
So that's where the heat is for me now. The heat is on Billy Slater. He knows he's got to do whatever he can to come back and win this series, because if he doesn't, well, his job is in serious jeopardy.
They got to go to Perth for game 2, in which Queensland, the last 2 games, Queensland have been smashed. So it's really funny, as well, because I think it was 38-6 and 44-6.
And then as if it won't be hard enough for them to win over there, then they'll have to win game 3 in Sydney, a decider. I can't see it happening. I can't see enough changing from game 1 for Queensland to be able to come back and win this series.
I kind of hate it that the halves always get blamed, but who else are you going to blame? But their forwards got rolled. They couldn't get quick to play the balls. Rugby league is won in the ruck by forwards getting quick play the balls with good service to dummy half, so dummy half can give the halfback or the halves the ball so that they have time to make a decision to pass the ball so they can isolate and get a one-on-one defender through a run, right? That's what you see at the Dragons this year. When Jacob Little gets on the field, they get much faster service from dummy half. They get much better service from dummy half over Damien Cook, which allows the halves a little bit more time to pass the ball to a forward or a back so they can isolate someone and get another quick play the ball, and they start rolling up the field. But the simple fact was the Queensland forwards and backs got rolled. So much so they didn't even kick the Spencer Leniu.
And look, as you said, Cherry-Evans wasn't the only one. Harry Grant had an off night.
Cameron Munster wasn't good.
Yeah, Harry Grant put in one very poor kick. I think where New South Wales caught the ball and then had a 7-tackle set on the 20. That was one example where Harry Grant was off. So Cherry-Evans wasn't on his own. They were all well and truly off. But I just can't see... I mean, that's the thing. Joey's called for Tom Dearden, and look, I get that, but...
Well, he came on the field and did nothing.
But that's the thing. I can't see enough changing with Tom Dearden at halfback for Queensland to be able to turn this around and come back and win the series.
If they play again exactly like they did, the forwards are still going to get rolled. They're not going to get quick to play the balls. New South Wales is going to get quick to play the balls. Latrell Mitchell is going to the one... for the opening 15 minutes or whatever, they just attacked Stephen Crichton down Stephen Crichton's side. Really. I was sitting there messaging my friends because I was at home at a bit of an issue that day, but... I was at home watching it by myself, messaging my friends, and I'm like, they keep attacking our Crichtons. Why don't they go to Latrell's side? They went to Latrell's side and scored. And that had, Craig Bellamy fingerprints all over it to me. Just keep hammering one side and then suddenly do a change-up. And I'm sure they probably had a call for it. But, that's the thing. They got rolled. They got rolled by better tactics. They got rolled by forwards running harder. They got rolled by... tackles that were better put in all the preventing quick play the ball. So changing Daly Cherry-Evans to Tom Dearden isn't going to change that at all. It's not going to make any difference, actually.
No, you sort of feel like this is a change being made because they need to be seen to be making a change.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Rather than actually putting someone in who's actually going to do a better job in the game.
Well, we got pumped. We better change something. Yeah,
we're down 1-0. And as the coach, Slater's job's on the line. So it's a case of I need to be seen to be doing something about it here, so I'm going to sack the captain.
Yeah. Well, the teams will be named on Monday, I believe, Sunday or Monday. And then we'll see what happens there. It's stupid to drop Daly Cherry-Evans. And the Titans lost to the Storm as expected. Des Hasler has blamed the bunker. Because it was all the bunker's fault. What was the score? It was
28-16, I think.
Yep. So you lose by 12 points because of one bunker decision.
Yeah.
Did he get a fine?
I don't believe
he didn't.
so.
He didn't.
I don't believe so.
It was skirting that fine line. Yeah.
If he has been fined, I haven't seen the report.
5 tries to 3, all because of one bunker call. And I don't know why.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, there was a blow up. There was a blow-up about 2 Storm players, Trent Loiero and Sean Bloor, laying around the ruck, preventing Sam Verrills. I guess that was the issue, preventing Sam Verrills from collecting the ball before he eventually burrowed over the line. It was one of those tries. But Casey Badger, the bunker official, deemed that Verrills dove through the ruck to score. gaining an unfair advantage after contacting his skipper's leg on the way through. But yeah, it's okay, and Hasler's just gone ballistic in the press conference about it and blown up. But as you said, they did lose the game by 12 points.
5 tries.
It was one bunker decision. So what is he going to blame? Is he going to blame the bunker for a 12-point loss to the Storm? Is he going to blame the bunker for the fact that they're last on the ladder? They've had a terrible start to the season. Or is it the bunker's fault that the Titans have had a terrible first half of the season? Because they have. They've been shocking this year. They can't fire a shot at anyone. Seriously, Des Hasler's got to stop blaming the bunker and the match officials for the fact that the magic dust has just worn off. He's not the coach that he once was, and his coaching career is coming to a swift conclusion at the moment.
It's the bunkers, that one bunker fault that they just can't play very well. Like we discussed the Titans at length at the beginning of the year. I don't know what the solution there is. It's just they're a team that can't attract players. They've got the first big money 10-year contract guy, David Fafita. They're not playing very well. They've got Big Tino, who plays really well, but the rest of the team isn't playing very well. And it doesn't matter who you put in as a coach there, they just seem to keep going terrible. So they're basically Tigers 2.0 with less off-field drama.
See, I think the problem with the Titans, and you just touched on it there, I think the problem is because they don't have a culture of success, that if they were to sign a player on big money for a lot of years, well, that player can just get away with just going through the motions, partying, going to the beach, going to nightclubs. Players can just get away with that there because they don't expect success because they've never had any expectation of having any success. So it's very easy for players like a David Fafita to just take the big money and go, oh yeah, I'll just chill out here for the next number of years on huge money and not really have to do much to take my paycheck, and I'll get away with it because no one expects me to do anything here because they've never had any success up here. But whereas if you went to a club like the Storm, obviously under Craig Bellamy's regime, well, you're not getting away with that sort of a mentality.
No chance in hell, yeah. And yeah, you can't just blame the bunker when you've lost. I mean, we yell at the bunker all the time on this podcast, right?
The bunker are not...
We rant and rave about it constantly.
But clearly he's blowing up about the bunker because he wants to distract the media from the fact that his team's last on the ladder, that his coaching career is hanging by a thread at the moment, and that he might not be there next year. He probably won't be there next year.
He was there last year, right?
There's a clause in his contract where he has to make the top 8 this year to keep... He's under contract next year, but he has to make the top 8 this year in order to have that year activated next year. And they're not going to make the 8 this year. They won't make the 8. So chances are he'll be gone at the end of the year. He'll be sacked. It's not the bunker's fault that the Titans are last on the ladder this year. It's the Titans and Des Hasler's fault that they're last on the ladder this year.
Look, one of the things about is he was supposed to bring in like steely defence, and they've got the worst defence in the NRL.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's not going to be there next year. Who knows who will be, though? Like, there's still no coach.
Oh, yeah, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But he's done,
Yeah.
I think
he'll never get another... He can't get another job.
He'd have to go to the Super League if he wanted to keep coaching.
I don't even think they'd hire him because of the suing. He sued every one of his previous clubs. So, no one's going to hire him.
Well, this is... We've talked about it before. This is the issue. If you treat your previous employers that way, well, it comes back to bite you because no one else wants to hire you in the future.
Especially in something that's so public.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of money. I'm sure
there ain't no NDAs because it's in the news.
I'm sure he won't go hungry in retirement. He would have a lot of money up his sleeve, but he's the sort of guy who will have trouble with retirement.
Yeah.
He'll get bored. He's a workaholic. He has a really good work ethic. He's the type of coach who would work, 18 hours a day.
Yeah, apparently sleeps at his desk.
Sleeps. Yeah, I think he's going to have real trouble in retirement. I don't think that golf and lying on the beach are for him somehow.
Well, he should go coach a rep team.
He might become like an assistant coach of a team.
I wouldn't want him as a buddy assistant coach if I was a head coach.
But he'd probably... there's that issue as well.
A rep team wouldn't be a bad idea. Like coaching Samoa or something like that.
Yeah, coach a Pacific Islands country or something.
A Fiji or a PNG or something like that. Like that gives him something to do. Or general manager of football for the PNG Hunters.
Yeah, it'll be something like that. I think his head coaching days are just about done.
Woke up this morning after 2 hard training sessions. Oh my God, I have so much washing, and boy, does it stink! But luckily, I have Garame Cleaning Codes Gear Guard, Clear the Funk, proud sponsor of SmartB. I've tried all of the ones that are around, and they're the ones that I suggest. They leave my clothes after training smelling like nothing. They don't do this thing where they smell like chemicals or flowers, and they don't advertise themselves as being a washing powder replacement. Instead, you add 1 cupful to your laundry, and off you go. Head to garamecleaning.co and buy yours now. Gearguard is a proud sponsor of the SmartB Sports Update.
That's it for Rugby League. The French Open is in full swing.
Yeah.
There's been some great matches. There's been some controversies. Unfortunately, Alex de Minaur, the emphasis was on the wrong syllable there. Alex de Minaur has been exited. Not really playing in form. This is his end of his reign as like a quarterfinal guy, right?
Well, he lost. He lost in the second round, so it was an early exit. It was a disappointing loss because he was up 2-0 and then lost in 5 sets and went out in the second round. Disappointing from him, but the good news for the Aussies, Alexei Popyrin and Daria Kasatkina. Now she's just become an Australian citizen, an Australian resident. Obviously, she represented Russia before, and obviously you can understand why she switched allegiance. I mean, who would want to represent Russia now?
Nobody does. They're all white flags.
Yeah, I've got to be careful. Our website might get hacked if I criticise Russia too much.
Someone might... Your car might get moved. You park your car and the next day it's moved.
Please don't cyber attack our website, Vladimir. So she switched allegiance to Australia. And look, well done to her. Reached the round of 16, Alexei Popyrin, well done to him, reached the round of 16. It was the first time in 37 years that there was an Aussie in both the men's and the women's last 16 draws in the same year. The last time that happened, Nicole Provis made the round of 16. She went on to reach the semis, and Pat Cash also did it too. That was in 1988. That was the last time that an Aussie in the men's and the women's made the round of 16 or better at the French Open. So well done to Popyrin and Kasatkina. Disappointing for de Minaur going out in the second round there, though.
And Carlos Alcaraz is on fire as well, which I'm hoping he wins it.
Yeah, he is on fire, yeah. So well done to him. But we got Novak Djokovic to take on Alexander Zverev in a blockbuster
4:15 a.m.
But you know, the good thing is you can get up at probably 6:30 and turn it on and it'll still be going. So you
When is it? It's on Thursday. Tomorrow morning,
yeah.
What am I going to do tomorrow morning? Oh yeah, I just got to take the kids. Yeah, come on.
It'll be on 9 Jam or Go or one of those.
Like an hour of it before,
on one of those back channels on Channel 9.
That's going to be a cracker like that.
Yeah, and obviously it comes, and I'll point out that we are recording this on Wednesday afternoon, so by the time this goes up...
Yeah, this will go up tomorrow.
Yeah, so this match will already be over by the time you're watching this, so there's no point in us talking about it too much. But one thing I'd point out is that it's a rematch after that infamous Australian Open semi-final where Novak Djokovic retired after just one set with that injury. Yeah, if we could call it that. But anyway, well done to Novak Djokovic, though. He won his 100th singles match at Roland Garros. He's only the second player to do that after you-know-who, Rafael Nadal, who, of course, won it 14 times, amazingly. Yeah. But well done to Novak Djokovic, only the second player to win 100 matches at the French Open. And then, interestingly, that's the first major that he's done that at. He hasn't won 100 matches at the other 3 majors, even though, obviously, he's had a lot more success at the Australian Open, winning that 10 times. But yeah, the first major that Novak Djokovic has won 100 matches at that major is the French Open. So there you go.
So it would mean whoever wins between Zverev and Djokovic will play the winner of Sinner and Bublik.
That's right. So basically, winner plays Jannik Sinner. That's basically how you've got to look at that.
Jannik Sinner off cycle as well. So
yeah, winner of Zverev and Djokovic will play Jannik Sinner.
Yep, and then Alcaraz will play...
Most likely, yes.
Lorenzo Musetti.
In the semi-finals, yeah. Musetti and Alcaraz will be in the semi-finals there, so yeah.
Interesting. It is.
We're at an interesting late stage of the tournament. Obviously, next week we will know who the winners are in next week's podcast.
We'll also know just where Novak Djokovic is. Because, we've been given it.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, and this is the thing. We keep saying, is he done, but he's still making quarterfinals and majors, so he's not done.
And he's not. Zverev.
If he beats Zverev,
he'll have to play Sinner.
It's going to be hard to knock all of them over.
Yeah. Sinner and Alcaraz.
But if he could beat Zverev and make the semis, well, then he's still made the semis at the two majors so far, so you can't say that he's suspended force yet.
Just think about that. Like, if he knocks over Zverev, then Sinner, then most likely Alcaraz to win.
Yeah, that would be something. And that'd be number 25.
I would fully, at the end, I'm done.
Retire.
Going out.
You talk about going out on a high.
Grand champion of the universe.
That's the time to go, right? If you're going to go out on a high.
Beating those three guys and then for a major, another major. That'd be 25th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is grand champion of the universe. That is, what is it? Dabbing, you're out. Mic drop moment if he does that. And then of course they had to give Rafael Nadal a tribute because it's, as you said, it's his major.
I guess the first year without Rafael Nadal at the French Open.
Forever,
Well, he won the French Open in his first year in 2005.
Yeah, so that's 20
it's 20. It's the first. Yeah, that's 20 years we've waited for a non-Rafael Nadal French Open.
So they could finally give him a tribute. And they included Andy Murray in it, who he never won the French Open.
No, he didn't. Well, this is a weird thing. So they had the big four there. That obviously there was Nadal there, and then you had Djokovic and Federer were both there. And Murray was there as well. Obviously, Djokovic, the only one of the four, still a current player. The other three have now retired. But it just felt like Murray was a bit out of place at that tribute. You got to think, Djokovic has won 24 majors, Nadal 22, Federer 20. Murray won 3 majors, and he's there with the other 3. It just felt like it was a bit out of place to have Murray there.
It's weird.
It's a big 3. It's not a big 4.
Think like I said, and then you have Djokovic, who's won at the French Open. Nadal, who's won at the French Open.
Federer had won the French Open
47 times, and Federer, who's won at the French Open, and then Andy Murray.
And that's the other point to make. It's not as if Murray ever won the French Open. He didn't. So they've included him at this tribute.
They've done a Rafael Nadal tribute for the French Open because it's Rafael Nadal's Open.
Yeah.
And included a dude. I was watching a clip by John Hamm recently he was at one of those award shows thingies, right? And those award shows, they have seat fillers.
Yeah.
You get paid to go there.
Yeah.
And the idea is when someone stands up, you have to sit there. So what happened was whoever was meant to sit next to John Hamm in the front row didn't turn up. So the seat filler, he called him the luckiest man in the universe. And he was showing clips of there's who everyone says, Lady Gaga on stage, and there's me, and there's the luckiest guy in the universe. And right now, that's Andy Murray. Cool, man.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. He was a seat filler at this event.
We need 4 guys. Just get Andy Murray in. Cause who else?
Yeah, it was almost as if they felt like they needed a 4th guy there.
Who won the French Open last year?
And that's the thing, last year it was Alcaraz.
Yeah, why didn't they get Alcaraz there?
But you know what I was thinking? Stan Wawrinka won the same number of majors as Murray, and he actually did win the French Open. So wouldn't he have been a better option if you had to have a 4th person?
Yeah, it's a bizarre choice.
But to be honest, my main issue with it was the fact that they've all won 20 or more majors, and he's only won 3, and he's with them at this event.
You need a 4th. There's plenty of other guys who are probably more qualified to be at a French Open tribute.
Well, they should have got Pete Sampras. Although he never won the French Open either. Andre Agassi. They should have got Andre Agassi.
If they needed they could have got a Carlos Alcaraz. He was there because he's the reigning champion.
Yeah, maybe that
makes more sense.
Maybe that would have made more sense. Have Alcaraz, reigning champion, the all-time king of clay, the 14-time winner, plus the other 2 best players of their generation.
Ever existed. Yeah.
Or ever.
Yeah. That's it for the week. Don't forget to go to OptimumCBD.store. Yeah, OptimumCBD.store to buy all of your CBD and supplement needs. Head to GearGuard from GarameCleaningCurt.co to keep your washing smelling fresh. I was in Mount the other day and some guy went, "At least you smell nice," because I was crushing his face with my chest. And I thank GearGuard for that especially. Smart Play was really good for State of Origin. We gave away 5 State of Origin jerseys to the 5 top scorers. We did have a bit of an issue with the massive amount of users who use the site, so it did crash for 3 hours at the worst possible time. But we have solved that issue for the next State of Origin, and I'm happy to announce we'll be again giving away 5 State of Origin jerseys to the top 5 players who score the most points across all State of Origin competitions, so free or smart coins. And we'll also be doubling all payouts for State of Origin night. So all payouts, people will win double the coins, smart coin paid matches or free matches. Check out the Casual Athlete, who will be doing a podcast on the day or like a couple of days before picking his team. And yeah, have a good weekend of football. Let's see if Lachlan Galvin plays on Monday.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, hopefully they have a win. They need to bounce back after that loss to the Dolphins. That was But they did have a lot of players.
Not on our rundown, but I'm sick of hearing from people. Bulldogs got exposed.
They had too many players.
They had 12 players missing.
Yeah.
You know how many players you have to pick in your team? 18.
Yeah. It makes it hard when you got 12 players.
They have a top 30 squad. You know what 30 minus 12 is? 18. They had only 18 players to pick, and they had to pick them.
Yeah.
And all of this, they were in the game up until that forward pass that was flat at best. It was a little bit forward, but flat at best. A lot of people thought it was flat. And I just think watching it, they were missing their senior players who, when they were running back to, recover, the senior players are going to be there. Go, don't worry, guys, we still got it. We're in the game. Keep going. They were missing that. They were missing Crichton and Burton and even Preston and stuff like that to go, don't worry, guys, we still got it. There's stuff that's... Think about the Bulldogs all year. They've had a couple of really big come-from-behind victories. Where does those come-from-behind victories start from? They start from the senior players instilling a confidence in the younger players that they can still win. And that wasn't there even when there was that small gap at the time. And I think if even one of those senior players like Stephen Crichton, Matt Burton, Jacob Preston, all those guys that were missing, or even one of those senior players had it been there, it would have been a very different game and they probably would have won. So I think anybody who thinks that game means anything, all it meant is once again we've shown that State of Origin is stupid because it ruins the season.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The Dragons have got the Dolphins on Friday. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think Dolphins already beat the Dragons earlier this year as well, so... Bleh. All right, and see you next week, and we'll see how we go.
See you then, John.